It is Tuesday, February 25 of the year of the Lord 2025. The Gospel is taken from St. Mark chapter 9, verse 30 to 37. Jesus and his disciples left from there and began a journey through Galilee, but he did not wish anyone to know about it. He was teaching his disciples and telling them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after his death, the Son of Man will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to question him. They came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, he began to ask them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they remained silent, for they had been discussing among themselves on the way who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all." Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, 9, and 10, there are 3 predictions of Jesus' passion. The first one is the end of the first part of the Gospel of Mark. The question is who Jesus is, and Peter answered, "You are the Messiah." And then the second part comes, what kind of Messiah, what kind of Christ is Jesus at the end? And then Jesus, in that moment, begins to teach his disciples, not to everybody, but only to his disciples. He knows, because as he has predicted, that he will be rejected, he will be killed, but then he will rise on the 3rd day. So today's gospel is the second time Jesus predicts his passion at the end. The first time, Peter tried to rebuke Jesus. Now the second time, the second foretelling, the disciples did not get it. So Jesus is in Galilee. Everything began in Galilee at the end. And Jesus is teaching his disciples. He tells again the second time that he will go to Jerusalem, he will be rejected. But the disciples could not understand. The disciples are like you and me. It's lack of faith. We have our own understanding, our own ideas, and we are not fully aware of following Jesus. We are not there completely. We have our own ideas. So then they arrive at Capernaum. Capernaum is the place where Jesus did most of his teaching, most of his miracles. And in the house means the church, Jesus asked his disciples what they were arguing, discussing. And they were discussing who was going to be the greatest, because the disciples had the idea that Jesus was going to be a glorious Messiah, a glorious Christ, powerful one. So if they were the inner group, they could have some kind of a power. They could be powerful. And this is why they didn't get that Jesus was going to be rejected. So the disciples at the end didn't get it. It's like us. Why are we Christians? No? And Jesus tells them very clearly, if they want to be the first, they must be the last and the servant of all. In the Gospel of John chapter 13, Jesus washes the disciples' feet. We want to be the first, we have to be the servant. We, the Christians, are supposed to be an alternative community, unlike the world. In the world, you'll fight, you quarrel to be the first, the most famous, the most important. In the community, it is about who is going to be the servant of all, like Jesus Christ. And then Jesus puts a child in the midst. The one who receives a child receives Jesus, and receives not only Jesus but the Father, because the children, they were worth nothing in the Jewish society, because they didn't have a father, they have nobody to protect them. They were nobodies. So who are important in the community? Not the somebodies, but the ones who are nobody, the ones who are the last and the least. Think about who are the last and the least in our communities. And they are supposed to be the first because they represent Jesus. We welcome Jesus. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, whatsoever you do to the least of my people, you do unto me. And that is complicated. So, you want to follow Jesus? Find him in the last and the least of our community. Please share this video with all your acquaintances. Don't be afraid to share it so that people can know the gospel of Jesus, so they can know Jesus and love him. From St. Leo the Great Parish in Houston and St. Luke Parish in Irving, Texas, may God give you peace, may give you comfort, may give you whatever you need. Amen.